I'm Ellen Dunn, 35, a single mom who runs a flower shop in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. At the family feast, my sister's kids were cutting into $100 steaks while my son sat in front of an empty plate. The Easter brunch had been my idea, a chance to bring everyone together. I'd spent weeks planning it, choosing a local restaurant, hoping for a warm, peaceful day. Instead, I got a slap in the face. My sister smirked. "We didn't order for him." My dad, seated at the head of the table, chuckled. "You should have packed food." My mom nodded, her eyes cold. "Nathan." My 10-year-old stared down at his plate, his cheeks burning with shame. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. "Noted," I said, forcing a smile. The table fell silent, every eye on me. They thought I'd cave like always. They were wrong. I motioned to the waiter. "Bring my son the ribeye medium rare," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Then I turned to my father. "You're covering the bill today." His grin disappeared. My sister's jaw dropped, her fork frozen midair. My mom hissed, "Ellen, don't make a scene." I leaned in, my voice steady. "If my son doesn't eat, no one does." I pushed my chair back, took Nathan's hand, and walked out, leaving their plates untouched. The restaurant buzzed with whispers, but I didn't care. This wasn't just about food, it was about respect. Have you ever had your family turn their backs on you like that? Share your story in the comments. I'm reading everyone. By noon, my inbox was overflowing. The next morning, my flower shop felt quieter. Word had spread in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, that my business was struggling, a rumor started by my sister Kathleen. She owned a boutique a mile away, and her whispered lies portrayed me as a failing single mom. Customers hesitated at my counter, their eyes wary. One regular picking up tulips asked if I was closing. My heart sank, but I forced a smile. "We're fine," I said, though the sting of betrayal lingered. Kathleen's rivalry wasn't new. It had begun when we were kids. I thought back to our childhood when my mom Jane and my dad Paul favored her. Kathleen got new dresses for school dances. I got hand-me-downs. They praised her report cards, while mine, just as good, were ignored. Once at a family picnic, they cheered her softball hit but missed my winning goal. That favoritism carried into adulthood. When I had my son Nathan at 20, they called me reckless. But when Kathleen opened her boutique, they loaned her thousands. I'd been paying off her business debts for years, dipping into my shop's profits to keep her afloat. It wasn't fair, but I'd done it for family. Enough was enough. I sat at my desk, crunching numbers. My shop was stretched thin, covering her loans while her boutique thrived. I called my bank and stopped the automatic payments to her account. My hands shook as I hung up, but it felt right. Kathleen needed to stand on her own, just as I had. When she called furious, demanding why the payments had stopped, I stayed calm. "I'm done covering for you," I said. Her voice turned sharp. "You'll regret this." I didn't respond, but her threat echoed in my mind. That evening, I drove to the home of my Aunt Cynthia and Uncle Tom, 10 minutes from my shop. Cynthia, my mom's older sister, welcomed me with a warm hug. Tom, her kind husband, offered me coffee. "You're doing the right thing," Cynthia said when I told them about the rumors and my decision. "Kathleen's been taking advantage of you." Tom nodded, his eyes steady. "Focus on Nathan and your shop." Their support eased my tension. Unlike my parents, they'd always seen my strength, cheering me on when I opened my shop as a single mom. Back home, I tucked Nathan into bed. His small face, so trusting, reminded me why I fought. The rumors hurt, but I wouldn't let Kathleen's lies define us. I checked my shop's books again, finding a small surplus now that I wasn't funding her boutique. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Still, something nagged at me, a memory of our grandmother's trust fund meant to be split between us. Had Kathleen lied about that too? Something wasn't right. A few days later, I began digging. Something about my family's behavior didn't sit right. My grandmother's will had established a trust fund for both my sister and me, meant to be divided equally. I hadn't thought about it in years, but the way they acted at the Easter brunch, leaving my son with an empty plate, made me question everything. I pulled down old boxes from the attic of my house in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, searching for any documents tied to that inheritance. Bank records, letters, anything that could confirm my suspicions. The files were disorganized and faded, but nothing clearly proved that my sister had taken more than her share. Still, my gut told me otherwise. The doorbell rang, sharp and impatient. My parents stood on the porch, their faces tight with disapproval. "You owe us $2,000 for that stunt at the restaurant?" My mom snapped, her arms crossed. My dad loomed behind her, silent but glaring. "You embarrassed us walking out like that," she continued. "A single mom should know better than to cause a scene." Her words hit deep, reopening old wounds: my divorce, my struggles raising Nathan alone, the flower shop they dismissed as a hobby. I clenched my fists, forcing my voice to stay calm. "I don't owe you anything," I said. "You let my son go hungry. That's on you." My mom scoffed, her tone cutting. "You're too sensitive. He's fine." My dad finally spoke, his voice low and cold. "Pay up or we'll make this harder." My pulse quickened, but I didn't back down. "No, I'm done letting you control me." They exchanged a look, then turned away without another word. As the door closed, my hands shook. Their visit wasn't about money, it was about power. They'd always favored my sister, giving her everything while I scraped by. She got the bigger allowance, the family car, their praise for her boutique, even when I was the one keeping it afloat. Back in the attic, I continued sorting through papers until a bank notice from 10 years ago caught my eye. It referenced my grandmother's trust fund and listed both our names, but the amounts didn't match. My sister's boutique had opened soon after the estate was settled, and no one ever mentioned where her startup funds came from. I couldn't prove it yet, but the puzzle pieces were starting to fit. I called my Aunt Cynthia, hoping she'd remember something. "Your grandmother was clear," she said firmly over the phone. "That money was meant for both of you." Uncle Tom chimed in, suggesting I check directly with the bank. Their steady support strengthened me, but I knew I'd need hard evidence. At my shop, business was slowing. The rumors my sister spread still lingered, making customers hesitate. I spent hours reassuring a nervous bride that my shop was stable, all while thinking about that trust fund. Nathan came by after school, his backpack drooping from his shoulders. "Are we okay, Mom?" he asked, his voice small. I hugged him tightly. "We're more than okay," I said, meaning every word. I wasn't just fighting for money, I was fighting for our self-respect. My mom's words echoed in my head. A single mom should know better. They'd always looked down on me, as if raising Nathan alone made me weak. But I wasn't weak. I'd built my shop, paid their debts, and kept our family from falling apart, only for them to mock my son. Sitting at the kitchen table, I stared at the bank notice. If my sister had stolen my share, I'd uncover it. I wasn't letting her win this time. That weekend, Diane called with proof. My best friend, a sharp lawyer in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, had been digging into my grandmother's trust fund. "I found something," she said, her tone calm but urgent. "Your sister forged your signature on the bank documents to claim the entire fund." My heart dropped. The trust, meant to be split equally, was worth $50,000. Diane had uncovered records showing my sister's boutique was funded by that very money right after our grandmother passed. I gripped the phone, my mind spinning. This wasn't just betrayal, it was theft. I arranged a meeting with my family at my parents' house, just a 10-minute drive from my flower shop. I wanted answers. Diane came with me, her briefcase filled with evidence. My sister sat smugly on the couch, my mother beside her with folded arms, and my father leaning against the wall, avoiding eye contact. "You took my share of the trust," I said, steady and direct. I slid Diane's documents across the coffee table: bank transfers, forged signatures, and dates matching her boutique's launch. My sister's eyes flickered, then she scoffed. "You're delusional," she snapped. "That money was mine." My mom jumped in, voice sharp. "Drop this, Ellen. You're stirring up trouble for no reason." She leaned forward, her expression icy. A single mom like you should focus on keeping things steady, not chasing grudges. Her words stung, but I stood firm. This isn't a grudge, I said. It's about what's rightfully mine. Diane's voice was calm but cutting. The evidence is undeniable. Forgery is a crime. My dad shifted uneasily but stayed silent. My sister stood, her voice rising. You can't prove anything. I earned that money. Earned it. She'd been living off my payments for years. I left their house, anger hardening into resolve. Back at my shop, I dug deeper, combing through every bank statement I had. Diane helped me cross-check emails from the bank. One stood out. It was from my sister's accountant confirming trust funds had been redirected into her business account. My hands shook as I printed it out. This was the proof we needed. But I knew they wouldn't back down easily. Her boutique just a mile away was still thriving on stolen money while my shop suffered from her rumors. I thought of Nathan, his quiet strength, his trust in me. I wasn't just fighting for money, I was fighting for justice. Diane and I spent hours building a paper trail. We found invoices from her boutique's suppliers, all paid with trust funds, and records proving there were no loans or investors backing her sudden success. Later that night, my mother called. Her tone was low, almost pleading. You're tearing this family apart, she said. Let it go. I didn't reply. Her words echoed years of favoritism, her constant defense of my sister, her dismissal of me because I was raising Nathan alone. I hung up, my chest tightening. Their pressure wouldn't break me this time. The next morning, I met Diane at her office downtown. She spread the documents across her desk, outlining our next move, a formal demand letter to my sister, warning of legal action unless she returned my share. This could get ugly, Diane warned. I'm ready, I said. I thought of Nathan at the Easter brunch, his empty plate while their kids ate steaks. That image fueled me. My family thought they could shame me into silence, but they were wrong. I'd built my life from the ground up, and this time, I was done being quiet. A week later, my flower shop took a serious hit. My sister had posted online accusing me of tax evasion at my business in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Her lies spread quickly and clients began canceling orders. A bride I'd worked with for months called, her voice trembling, asking if my business was legitimate. My stomach turned. This wasn't just gossip, it was a calculated attack meant to destroy me. The shop I'd built through years of late nights and sacrifices for my son Nathan was suddenly at risk. But I wasn't about to let her win. I called Diane, my best friend, the same sharp lawyer who had uncovered my sister's forgery of our grandmother's trust. We need to fight this, I said, my voice tight. She arrived within the hour, laptop open, scanning my tax filings. Every record was clean. You're spotless, she said. Her accusations won't hold up. Still, the damage was already done. My phone buzzed with anxious messages from customers, and my weekly revenue had dropped by half. Thinking of Nathan's trusting eyes, my resolve hardened. I was going to protect what we'd built. Diane suggested we dig deeper into my sister's actions. I spent nights combing through old emails, searching for anything that could strengthen our case. Then I found an email from my sister to her bank sent right after our grandmother's death. In it, she detailed her plan to redirect the entire $50,000 trust fund to her boutique, mentioning my forged signature. My hands shook as I forwarded it to Diane. This is gold, she said. It connects her fraud to this new smear campaign. It was the smoking gun we'd been waiting for. We met at Diane's downtown office just a mile from my shop and compiled a full dossier: tax documents, forged bank records, and that incriminating email. Diane drafted a letter to my sister's attorney, demanding she retract her lies and return my rightful share of the trust. If she refuses, we escalate, Diane said firmly. I nodded, feeling a mix of fear and determination. This fight wasn't just about money anymore. It was about dignity. That evening, my mother called, her tone icy. You're embarrassing yourself, she said. This whole tax mess is your fault for not managing your shop. My heart pounded. "Your daughter lied," I shot back. "And you're defending her." She hung up, but her words lingered, echoing years of favoritism and dismissal. My father stayed silent as always, another quiet betrayal. They had praised my sister's boutique while calling my shop a cute little hobby. But I wasn't playing anymore. I was fighting. At work, I reassured customers that the rumors were false. One longtime client ordering for a funeral hugged me gently. "We know you," she said. "You're honest." Her words gave me strength. Diane stayed late, cross-checking financial records, proving my sister's boutique had no legitimate funding source besides the stolen trust. We even found another email to her accountant confirming she had used my share to pay her debts. Each new discovery felt like another brick in the wall protecting Nathan and me. Nathan noticed my stress one evening. "Mom, is the shop okay?" he asked softly. I knelt beside him, forcing a smile. "It's going to be fine," I said, and I meant it. I thought of that Easter brunch, his empty plate while my sister's kids ate steak. The memory fueled both my anger and my strength. I wasn't just fighting lies, I was defending our future. Diane warned me it might get ugly. "They'll push back," she said. I knew she was right. My family had always tried to keep me small, but not anymore. 2 weeks later, their lawyer arrived at my flower shop in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He stood at the counter clutching a manila envelope, his face all business. My family had filed a lawsuit accusing me of stealing our grandmother's $50,000 trust fund and withholding their share. My heart pounded, but I wasn't surprised. My sister had already tried to ruin my business with false claims of tax evasion. This was her next move to bury me under legal fees. I called Diane, my best friend and attorney, who showed up within minutes, eyes sharp, with focus. We met shortly after at her office just a 5-minute drive away. Diane spread out the evidence, the forged signature on the trust documents, bank statements, and an email from my sister detailing her plan to take the entire fund. "They're bluffing," Diane said calmly. "Their case won't hold." She filed a counterclaim submitting our proof to the court. The hearing was scheduled in a small downtown courtroom. I sat in the wooden pews, Nathan's face flashing in my mind, his empty plate at Easter brunch, the moment this nightmare began. I wasn't fighting for money anymore. I was fighting for us. The judge, a stern woman with gray hair, examined the documents carefully. Diane presented the forged signature supported by bank records showing my sister's boutique had been financed through the trust. My family's lawyer stumbled over his words, his arguments unraveling. My sister sat motionless, pale, and unable to meet my eyes. My mother leaned toward her, whispering bitterly, while my father kept his gaze fixed on the floor. The judge ruled in my favor, dismissing their claim. "The evidence of fraud is undeniable," she said firmly. I exhaled, relief flooding through me as Diane gave my hand a quiet squeeze of victory. The aftermath came swiftly. My sister's boutique, already failing without my financial help, collapsed under unpaid debts. Suppliers withdrew support, and her customers disappeared. Word spread quickly in our close-knit Cedar Rapids community, her deceit exposed for everyone to see. Within weeks, she declared bankruptcy, her store permanently closed. My parents soon faced their own reckoning. Diane uncovered IRS notices they had ignored for years tied to unreported income from my sister's business. The government seized their house to settle the debt, leaving them with nothing but a small rented apartment. I felt no satisfaction, only a heavy sense of closure. When I drove home that evening, the weight of the trial began to lift. My shop had survived their attacks. Customers returned reassured by the court's decision and my clear name. A local reporter covered the story, praising my resilience as a single mother. I thought of Nathan playing at Aunt Cynthia's house while I fought this battle. Cynthia and her husband Tom had been my anchor, calling every day to check in. "You did what was right," Cynthia told me when I shared the news. Tom added, "They never saw your strength coming." Their words steadied me, reminding me I wasn't alone. Then a text from my sister appeared, the first in weeks. "You ruined us." I stared at it. my thumb hovering over the reply button. But I didn't respond. Her choices stealing lying had led her here. Minutes later, my mother called, her voice sharp. "You've destroyed this family," she said. I hung up, my chest tightening. The accusation hurt, but I refused to carry their guilt anymore. They had always favored my sister, dismissing me because I raised Nathan alone. This wasn't revenge. It was justice. The next morning, I walked into my shop, the scent of roses soothing my nerves. A customer ordering wedding flowers smiled and said, "You're a fighter." I smiled back, thinking of Nathan's quiet courage, his trust in me. I had protected our future not just from financial ruin, but from a family that never believed in us. The lawsuit's end marked more than a legal victory. It marked my freedom from their control, their judgment, and their power over me. By summer, my shop was thriving. The court's ruling had cleared my name across Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and customers returned in full force. I expanded, adding a new wedding display room and hiring 2 part-time florists to keep up with demand. For the first time, I felt financially independent, no longer burdened by my sister's debts or my family's judgment. My savings grew enough to start a college fund for Nathan, my son. As I walked through the shop, the scent of lilies filled the air, and I felt a quiet pride. I'd built this life from the ground up. Aunt Cynthia and Uncle Tom insisted on hosting Nathan's birthday party at their cozy home just 10 minutes from my shop. They hung fairy lights in the backyard, set a table with a chocolate cake, and invited Nathan's classmates. He turned 11, his smile brighter than I'd seen in months. Cynthia pulled me aside as the kids laughed and ran around. "You've given him a real home," she said warmly. Tom nodded, handing me a glass of lemonade. "You're stronger than they ever gave you credit for." Their support grounded me. It reminded me what real family meant. Watching Nathan's laughter under the lights, I knew this was our victory. But my sister hadn't stopped. She went online again, claiming I'd manipulated the court to steal the $50,000 trust fund. Her words dripped with venom, accusing me of turning everyone against her. Some locals believed her, others defended me. My stomach twisted, but I refused to let her poison my peace again. I blocked her number, deleted her emails, and shut her out on social media. No more messages, no more drama. The moment I hit block, I felt lighter, as if I'd broken free of a chain that had held me for years. Then my mom started calling, leaving sharp-voiced voicemails. "You're being selfish," she said in one. "Your sister has nothing left." I deleted it without replying. My dad texted once, "Talk to us." I ignored it. Their favoritism, always choosing her, belittling me for being a single mom, had gone too far. I wasn't their scapegoat anymore. Cutting them off felt final, like closing a door on years of hurt. I thought of that Easter brunch, Nathan's empty plate while they laughed over steak. That memory burned, but it also fueled my strength. I would never let anyone make my son feel small again. At the shop, a regular customer ordered flowers for her daughter's graduation. "You're an inspiration," she told me kindly. "Running this place and raising your boy alone." I smiled, thanking her. The community's support, bolstered by the local paper's story about my court victory, had turned the tide. Orders poured in: weddings, funerals, anniversaries. I trained my new team, carefully showing them how to handle every bloom with care. The shop wasn't just surviving, it had become a cornerstone of Cedar Rapids. I'd earned that through perseverance, not family approval. Cynthia dropped by one afternoon with a tin of cookies. "You've cut them off," she said knowingly. I nodded. "It's better this way." She hugged me tightly. Later, Tom called to check in. "You don't need their poison," he said simply. His words echoed in my mind that night as I locked up the shop. I'd spent years chasing the love of people who never truly saw me. Now I was free to build a life surrounded by those who did. My sister's online posts soon faded, her influence dwindling as her boutique's bankruptcy became old news. My parents' move to a small rented apartment marked the end of their downfall, a consequence of their own choices. I didn't gloat. I simply moved forward. Nathan deserved a mother who stood tall, not one weighed down by guilt or family chaos. Looking at his college fund statement, I felt a deep calm. This was our future, our legacy. One evening, I sat Nathan down. The living room of our Cedar Rapids, Iowa home glowed with soft lamplight, and my son, now 11, watched me with curious eyes. I took a deep breath, ready to share our story. You know how we've been through a lot. I began, keeping my voice calm. It started when they ignored you at that brunch. I told him about the trust fund my sister stole, the lies she spread to ruin the shop, and the lawsuit we won. His face grew solemn, but he nodded. I fought for us, I said, because you deserve better. Nathan hugged me tightly. You're the best mom, he whispered. I held him close, my heart full. That moment reminded me why I'd endured it all, his trust, his future. Inspired by our journey, I began planning a nonprofit to support single mothers in Cedar Rapids. I wanted to help women like me, those facing judgment and financial hardship, find strength again. With Diane's help, my best friend and attorney, I drafted our mission statement. We named it Roots of Resilience, a tribute to my flower shop's endurance. Our first meeting gathered 10 women who shared stories of struggle and hope. I spoke about breaking free from toxic family ties, and their nods fueled my resolve. My shop soon became a hub for the organization. I set up a small corner with flyers and donation jars, and customers gave generously. A local cafe 2 miles away offered to host our fundraisers. My new staff managed the daily orders, giving me time to lead workshops on budgeting and legal rights. One mother of 2 thanked me after a session. You showed me I can do this, she said, her eyes bright with confidence. I smiled, thinking of Nathan's pride. This work wasn't just about helping others, it was proof that single mothers could rise above anything. Meanwhile, my sister's reputation in Cedar Rapids collapsed. Her boutique's bankruptcy exposed her, and her repeated lies about me lost all traction. Locals stopped responding to her posts, and her circle of friends faded away. My parents faced their own downfall. After losing their home to IRS debts, they moved into a small apartment on the edge of town. Neighbors whispered about their role in covering up my sister's fraud. I heard from Cynthia that my mom tried joining a community book club, but no one welcomed her. My dad stayed silent, his quiet heavier than words. I felt no joy in their downfall, just a steady resolve to move forward. Cynthia and Tom remained my anchors. They hosted Sunday dinners, filling their home with warmth and laughter. Nathan loved their backyard where he played catch with Tom. You've built a real family, Cynthia said one evening, her voice gentle. I nodded, deeply grateful for their loyalty. They had stood by me through everything from the trust fund battle to the court case. Their faith in me had grounded me when my parents and sister tried to tear me apart. I never unblocked my sister's number or my parents' emails. Their voices, once constant, were now gone. I had spent years chasing their approval, only to realize it was a trap. Cutting them off wasn't just about peace, it was about choosing Nathan and myself over their toxicity. My shop's success, with its expanded display room and steady orders, proved I didn't need them. Nathan's college fund grew each month, a quiet promise of his future. Watching him read on the couch, I knew I'd made the right choice. As I led Roots of Resilience, I reflected on what I'd learned. True strength wasn't merely surviving, it was choosing yourself over those who tried to break you. My family had dismissed me as a struggling single mom and stolen what was mine, but I'd fought back, not with bitterness, but with purpose. I wanted Nathan to understand that courage means standing up even when it hurts. I wanted other single mothers to know they weren't alone. Our story wasn't just about winning a lawsuit or saving a business, it was about creating a life free from shame. That was the legacy I'd leave for Nathan and every woman who walked through my door.